Now, as the nights draw in here in the Northern Hemisphere, you know Halloween is just around the corner. Whilst children go out trick-or-treating in ghoulish costumes, carrying pumpkin lanterns and hunting for sweets, a new magic show here in London reminds us that Halloween has a distinctly dark side. Before we meet the director of Master of the Macabre, let's kind of get an idea of what the show's all about.
Can you feel that?
Yeah, that's really weird.
Come back to me. Brilliant. How are you? Great to see you. Nice to see you.
The director of Master of the Macabre, Tom Middleton, joins me now. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. That didn't look terribly macabre there. For some reason, they were seeing things that we weren't seeing, which is, I suppose, the whole point of why you're teasing us with this.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's a teaser for a reason. You know, macabre is a genre, but fear is something else. You know, it's what we kind of anticipate might happen, and how we get the jumps out of the audience is them coming in going, what is going to happen? You know, what's going to happen to me? And they imagine all sorts of things. And so what really makes people jump, particularly a sort of sceptical, sort of modern audience, isn't what they think will make them jump. And that's where we kind of have a step ahead of them, both as magicians and also as, you know, directors of the project. So,
well,
yeah.
I mean, I know you don't want to reveal, obviously, all, because, I mean, you want people to say, but what can we expect beyond the sort of the edge of your seat, you know, theatrical experience and the fact that this is full of fear and astonishment?
Well, I mean, you can expect magic that's kind of a slightly grisly feel. We've got a few creepy crawlies in the show. You know, at one point, the magician shows a box empty with nothing in it, gets you to put your hand inside, and then produces a load of worms from the box, for example, onto this platter and offers them around to the audience. So it's all sorts of kind of grisly magic tricks, and it's kind of an autobiographical journey for the magician as well, sort of growing up, scaring people with little tricks, getting to bigger tricks, and then building towards his sort of finale, which is takes the part of a seance.
So let me ask you this. Who is Benedict Barber?
So Ben Barber is a close-up magician. He was found on the street in Covent Garden doing magic for people passing around, earning money that way. But he had a kind of taste for slightly grisly magic tricks where he'd do things like, you know, produce a little spider out of a matchbox that was previously empty, that sort of stuff. And we thought, well, this is kind of interesting because magic's, you know, got all sorts of connotations, and obviously Vegas has a massive influence on magic, and now we've got street magic with Dynamo, and so, you know, where does magic go from there? You know, what avenues can we push it through next? And obviously horror as a genre and magic have something that can kind of tie together, which is what we've tried to do with this show.
Well, there is a twist to that, but shall we agree not to say what the twist is?
Yes, I think it's probably best that we don't say what it is, yeah.
But let's talk about you, though.
Sure.
You're not just a theatre director, you're also a magician yourself. I mean, you've got a long sort of CV, sell-out shows, certificates of excellence. Tell us a bit about that.
So I've been growing up with magic since I was about 8 years old also. You know, I started doing magic when I was very young as a hobby. I think most magicians get a magic set for Christmas and they get obsessed with magic. Very quickly you get the bug, it bites you and you keep going. So for as long as I can remember, I've been doing magic, but I've also been you know, doing theatre for as long as I can remember as well. So there aren't many people that actually bring theatre and magic into the same environment. And so that's something that we want to do with this show, was to create a sort of immersive theatrical experience that really brought those two things together in a way that hadn't been done before. And
it had to be somebody like you, didn't it? Because, I mean, you've got the, you know, you're a director, you're also a magician. But what I'm curious about is that those illusions that we're seeing on the screen now. Clearly, I mean, you've got the camera sort of zooming in and you get a sense of this sort of close-up magic that's taking place. How do you expand that in a theatre to a bigger audience?
Well, it's interesting because the vaudeville performers, you know, at turn of the century and music hall and all of that, they used quite small things to get a big reaction out of the audience. For example, one classic illusion was with razor blades, where you would swallow the razor blades one at a time and a piece of string, and then you would pull at the piece of string and all the razor blades would be tied onto it. And the orchestra would play in time as you did it and would sort of put little accents on, like a little symbol for each razor blade as it appeared, so it kind of pinpoints the magic for everybody. And now, of course, with television, we can get very close to magic. So what I tried to do is to take it back a little bit and say, well, actually, this is something that can play for a bigger audience, but you have to tell them what they're watching, and quite often you have to use spectators to get the reactions.
Now, we're almost out of time. Very quickly, the show can be seen where?
It's at the Vaults
and
in
when
Waterloo.
does it start?
It's already started, and it finishes on the 1st of November.
Tony Middleton, I'll try to be there. Thank you very much indeed.